What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Side Talk. This time I'm here with my friend JY, and I'm going to let him introduce himself. Some of you might already know him, but JY, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Gio. Yeah, so for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is JY Sharif. I'm a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player, but I'm a bit washed up at the moment. I keep taking extended breaks from the game, but here we are a week before YCS Dortmund. I'm trying to get back into it and gonna get back on the YouTube grind as well. I've got lots of plans for making videos. And I guess some people would say I produce music as well.
I
I
actually,
don't really, but
I actually
yeah.
saw one of your Yu-Gi-Oh songs the other day. I was like, hey, you got bars, you got bars.
Yeah, no, Mini Fez, shout out to Mini Fez. My guy's got bars. Shout out to him.
Yeah, that was fun to watch. So, man, for those people who, especially the American players who probably don't know you that well, can you give us a little bit like a recap of like your resume, what you've done and whatnot?
Yeah, back in 2017, qualified for the World Championships. I was repping the UK and, got a couple YCS tops, couple nationals tops, tops at Euros, that kind of thing. And loads of regional wins and regional tops if we count those. So, yeah, I'm just your run of the mill, competitive player. And, I've done a bit of coaching as well in the past. And yeah, I got a YouTube channel with a bunch of content, doing all sorts of things. And yeah, that's like a I'm pretty much like your casual competitive Yugi tuber, like that, that's like the easiest way to sum me up.
Yeah, I mean that Worlds participation is definitely something to flex. I mean, it's very, very hard to get to Worlds. It's an honor, and you did it through points, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And you also did it the first year that points came out, which was impressive, especially
Mm.
because it wasn't like how it is now, which we will talk about that in a minute. But it wasn't like playoffs out. Like it was literally, I don't know if it was first or second people in points how it was, but it was like just straight points. It was not playoffs.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, for context, so the first year they did it in 2017, the year I qualified, they had a system where they gave out four invites via points. So it was UK, Germany, Italy, and France. So for each of those four countries, the player with the highest points in that country would qualify. So I went for the UK, and um, and then they had two more slots for the finalists at the European Championship. And then the following year, they did the same system, and then I think it was 2019 where they implemented the playoff system where it would be the top 16 players, I think, enter the playoff, and then the top three from that would go to Worlds, and that was for all of Europe that year.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I think the biggest flex I've ever like heard a Yu-Gi-Oh player tell me was when I think because I met like we had talked before because we were on the same like Discord team or whatnot back in the day. But I met you in person for the real for the first time at Euros, which was my first time ever going to a continental because I'm originally from the US, but I have lived in Spain and my first like regional top was in Spain. So Euros was the first time I went, and when I was there, we were talking, and I think you made it to top 64 that year, and you
Yeah,
lost in top 64. I don't know, top 64, top 32, but like
64, sadly.
uh, but
Yeah.
before even topping, like going into your last round, you were like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm so ahead in points that even if I don't top, I still make it to the worlds. And I was like, that's a flex.
Yeah, it was crazy because going into Euros, there were a few players who, if they ran deep at Euros, could have overtaken me. But like day one, I actually finished AO, and all of players that had a chance to overtake me had all dropped out the tournament. So that was yeah, so I was locked in day one to go Worlds, and I was AO. So it was that's probably one of the highlights, I guess, of my Yu-Gi-Oh career, that moment. But the thing is, I was so anxious because that's just half of it. Like the other half was trying to get a visa to go to Japan because there was a chance that I wouldn't have got a visa or whatever because I wasn't, just complications of not being British at the time. But that's the immigrant struggles. Shout out to that. Yeah.
Oh, oh yeah, that was before Brexit, I think. So yeah, it was definitely
Mm.
more complicated. Now, yeah, I think Jeremy Mitchell had a similar complication. At least that's what I heard from other players, because I'm friends with like Lars and a few other people in that community that went to Worlds this year. That was also in Japan, and I had heard that there was some issues with like getting the visa, but obviously he made it. He got top four. Shout out to him. And
Mm.
mentioning the players that you said like that had a chance to overtake you, but they did bad in day one. That year was funny. I have a friend. I feel bad for him, man. Shout out to him. His name is Oliver Vera. He actually topped YCS Oakham or Prague, one of the two. It was that YCS was crazy because I'm from like my Spain side is from an island in Spain, and so like there's very few people who travel to events, and that YCS specifically, only five of them went, and two of them got top 8 and 16, which is crazy. But Oliver in that Euros, he ended up X3 at the end of day one, but still made it to day two and then played it out and won all his matches. And he was so confident he was going to be good because his tiebreakers, the people who beat him, were Joshua Schmidt and Ito Marcus. For those of you who don't know, Ito Marcus used to be a really good player. I remember
Yeah, yeah,
his light sworn PK deck. That was something he cooked up. And so those were his tiebreakers, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be fine." Turns out they both dropped, and I was like, that's tough. Like to have the best, like to have two recognizable players as your tiebreakers, and then for them to not do good at that one event is like, wow. So yeah, he
yeah.
literally won
Tough.
out on day two just to not make it into top 64.
Yeah, it's tough. That's tough. We've all experienced that kind of pain. It's part of the process.
Yeah, it is part of the process. It is part of the process. But yeah, you keep on showing up and you top. He ended up topping that YCS like after that Euro. So, if you keep on showing up, I think you definitely will make results. So I don't know why I was thinking that the year you came was when it was here in Orlando, but it wasn't. It was in Japan then when you went to Worlds.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's really good. I remember talking to Lars like right before he got second at Nats, and he was like, "Ah man, I want to go to Japan so bad." And then he just topped Nats, and we were like, "Well, there you go."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's definitely a
No.
good feeling. Um, while we're on the topic of Worlds, how was that experience like going with like I guess what you could say your teammates and like actually play testing for that and everything like that?
Yeah, the thing is, I actually didn't go with teammates. Like, I went by myself. But yeah, it was a sick experience. Like getting to meet like all the other competitors and hanging out with them, like all the Americans, like Billy, Isala, like Roland, like Furman. Like there was so many like insane players. Joshua Schmidt was there, Marcello Barberi. It was like a really like stacked year, and it was a cool honor to be there with all those players. And it was my first time in Japan, and being a weeb, I loved it. Felt like I was living in anime. It's living out that fantasy, and yeah, it was a really really awesome time. And also it was really cool the fact they had like a little documentary crew, and they filmed like a mini documentary for the event. So like that's on YouTube, and I like sometimes when I'm feeling down, I can look back on that, and it's nice to like kind of be a part of Yu-Gi-Oh history, even though I did really badly at Worlds, but it's still nice to like kind of be a part of that history still.
I mean, at the end of the day, man, you went to Worlds, which is something that many people can't say. So even if you didn't do the best, it's fine. It's still an accomplishment, and it's interesting. I had not known about that documentary. You're definitely gonna have to link that to me so I can put it in the description of this video. And you mentioned a lot of good names. Talking about Marcelo Barberi in that 2017 Euros, bro, he went crazy. He won like 13. No, he went 17-0. He won every single match.
Yeah.
That was insane. That was like the most dominant feat I've seen. Well, aside from like Billy Break in 2011, where he just won five, well, not one, but top, he won two YCSs and got like top 8 in every other YCS. Yeah, Billy
Yeah,
and
Marcello, both of them goats.
yeah, they are. Billy and Joshua are honestly like my inspiration to playing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh. Like Billy and Joshua, their rivalry was like awesome to watch in those years, to be honest.
Mm-mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, it was. They're both like insane players, and it was sick to be at Worlds with both of them. It was yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah. So you mentioned you've taken a lot of breaks. I know we've talked in the past, and you had told me you weren't playing at this time. So when around did you like stop playing the game for the first time?
Yeah, like I played for 2 years hardcore, like 2017 and 2018. Like I literally, I went to like 50 plus regionals, most of the YCSs, like, and Yu-Gi-Oh was like my life for those 2 years. And then end of 2018, I decided to just, take a break from the game. And I stopped playing for about like a year, and then I went to the YCS end of 2019, like YCS London, just to see, and I went to Euros as well, just to like see friends and hang out. But then COVID hit, and then I just like stopped playing completely as well. And then I came back 2021, so it was like fall, like autumn 2021 when they first started having regionals again, like in real life. And that's when I like came back to the game, and I started my YouTube channel, and I started making Yu-Gi-Oh content, and I played for like that year. I went to nationals and Euros and everything, and then after Euros last summer, like I took another break, and then I came back again for this national season. So I went to nationals and Euros, and like now I took a break after Euros and didn't play from like July until literally this week. So I'm like just catching up now, like trying to learn Unchained and all these like Rescue Ace and all these decks the week before the YCS because I just want to like this event will just be just for fun to hang out and get back into the game, and then hopefully in the coming weeks I can like actually brush up and start like doing well at competitions again.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, you think you have it tough. Like we have to learn all the decks plus the like stuff that comes out in Age of Overload because of course Indy has to be, the day that Age of Overload becomes legal, it's gonna be a very interesting thing to do. But yeah, there's definitely been some time since you stopped playing. I know you've mentioned that you went in and out, but things have changed a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, Zodiac was a super powerful deck in its time, but like I think like the time rules have changed, so now it's like end of phase, which is crazy. The link monsters just became a real thing because like at that point the only link monster that was being played was like the Missus one for the Earths to give you more zones.
Yeah.
And then the playoffs, like we mentioned, which is completely different than from what you did. So how do you feel about like those things, especially like the playoffs, since you have participated in that world's grind? Do you think it's more valid for a playoff, or just do you think it should have just been the grind?
I think I don't have a huge issue with the playoff, but I do feel like if they it would be a bit nicer if the guys who made it to the top 16 playoff maybe just qualified for Worlds anyways, and maybe open up to more people. But I do understand like the aspect of it being like very hard to get into, so it makes it more of an achievement and more like kind of prestigious because it's really difficult to get into. And maybe I feel like they should do a little bit more. There could be more done to make the playoff like more worth it. Because I think at the moment, if you qualify for the playoff, you get a prize card. I think for and a 2 round bye, right? It'll be nicer if there was like maybe some extra prizing because you do like dedicate a whole year to like make that top 16. Even if you only have to make top 16, you still have to play almost every event and be in the top 16 of all of Europe, the whole continent, or for example in the States, in the whole of America, like it's not an easy feat to do and it's a lot of sacrifice. So if there was maybe just a bit more like prizing to support that, that would be cool. But I don't really have too much of an issue with it. The fact that you get a 2 round bye gives you a huge chance to top Euros. And I think we've seen it multiple times where a player was in the playoff, didn't make it to Worlds on a playoff, and then ended up qualifying the hard way by making it to top four of Euros. So um, you know, I'm like kind of indifferent to it. Like for those players who are willing to put the effort in, and I think they'll make it. The ones who are supposed to make it will make it most of the time, anyways. So yeah, I'm indifferent to the whole playoff. And then in terms of the game changing, it's changed a lot. The decks very like you read like a Rise Heart, like Hashira Rise Heart. I'm so glad it's banned, but that card is like a custom card. I'm still like it was so crazy that there was a period of time where Dryden was banned, and Dryden is literally like detach one to pop a face up card, and you have a Rise Heart here, which is like almost the same as Dryden in terms of how easy it is to summon, and it's got like a floodgate effect. It just gains materials and it's a quick effect to banish any card face down. And face down is one of like the hardest removals from the game. And it's still like it replenishes your resources to the card is, and it's a 3K beta. It's like so not even 3K beta, 3K defense as well. It's like how do
Yeah,
you
he's big.
how do you kill this thing? How do you kill this
I
thing?
mean,
It's
to
so
be
hard.
fair, like that's where we see like I think nowadays. So that's another question I meant to ask was whether or not you think the game takes a little more skill now or less skill. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Edison format was the most skillful. Oh, Go format was the most skillful." I don't know. I had this discussion at Denny's the other day with all the Miami players, and I think most of us agreed that I think it's a little bit more difficult now in the sense of you have to, especially deck building, it plays such a huge role because you have to like know what to side, know what non-engines to play, and I think non-engine has become like a very big thing in the game. And aside from that, like there's just so many ways to mess up your combo, but there's also like you have to really know your opponent's decks way more than you did before to actually be able to counter them. So I think right now I feel like the game is at a very high skill ceiling. I do agree that there have been formats like Goki or whatnot where you just have like this crazy board deck and there's just no way of beating it. But we've haven't had that issue in a long time because of all the board breakers that is to it. So I think the game right now takes a lot of skill in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. You know, you're totally right, especially with the fact there's a lot of like powerful decks now. But yeah, like the way the game works, it's always like ups and downs. There's always periods where it's like super skillful and very technical formats, and then you have some formats where the decks kind of play themselves and they're very simple combo decks where you just kind of lock your opponent out the game and you kind of almost flipping a coin sometimes. But yeah, like right now, I feel like the game is in a pretty decent place, and yeah, especially like now it's a new ban list. So even though it didn't do a lot, it just got rid of a Rise Heart, and a Rise Heart like was a very like format warping card where you had to like there was I think all the decks were playing Free Book of Moon, Free Book of Eclipse, like just to beat a Rise Heart. It was like every deck was literally just like I need to play like these 8 9 cards just to counter this one Xyz monster, which I'm glad they've kind of removed it from the game for the
To be
time being.
fair, they also played it for the Pearly trap card to stop Pearly Noir from adding the board. But yeah, like even now, like since the Rise Heart's banned, Pearly is still a thing. They still have the trap card, and people are now cutting the moons. They're keeping the eclipses for the most part to have interaction, but they're just realizing moon is just not as impactful, so they're just cutting it out. And I'm doing something similar. I think right now, like I cut one moon. I'm still playing two, but like it's only because I actually like flipping my own Griffin and things like that. So yeah, like a Rise Heart is definitely a format warping card. It was definitely crazy. I think we've had a few interesting, crazy formats like recently. Tier was like super, like it was a one deck format, but it was like super complex where you were seeing like such high level of gameplay. And talking about high level of gameplay, the thing I wanted to mention about the playoffs that I really liked is although pricing in general can be fixed in every aspect of the game, there are many things that pricing could be better. I think it's very exciting to see such high name players just battling it out for that spot for Worlds. And you did mention saying that the seeing like the players go and then fail at the top at the playoff and then end up making it in the Euros. I believe the year I was reading into this, it was comments on Zodiac. I don't remember exactly what they were, but somebody was saying that like in 2019, I think it might have been 2020, literally three of the top four in NAWCQ were people who had played the playoff.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was similar like like statistics in the EU playoff. Like there's always like two of them. Like half would be the from the playoff. Or if you look at the conversion rate, like from the 16 players that were in the playoff to players that topped, it's like at least half of them are in the top cut. You know, like so because they're literally they're the best in the state, you know, the best in the continent. So, and it is very cool to see like that stacked tournament where it's 16 of them just playing off against each other. Even this year was very cool at Euros to see like I think it was a bigger playoff. There was 32 players, and I think it was like 5 round Swiss, and everybody was around watching like every single game because it was all like YCS champion versus like Worlds compare versus like this like national champion versus it was all just like stack names against each other, like Battle of the Titans, and I like that aspect of it definitely.
Yeah, I was actually watching it not at the venue because we were lazy and we were at the Airbnb, but it was like 10 of us deep just watching it on the TV, just losing our mind. I remember, I think it was, yeah, Paulie had a face down Big Bang that I don't know if the opponent knew or not, but I'm like in my head, I'm like, okay, this guy's doing all this. I'm like, bro, watch. If Paulie Big Bangs right now, he just wins. And that's what he did. And bro, we jumped out of our seats just yelling. We're like, ah! Like the level
Yeah.
of play is amazing to watch. I also like seeing that in team YCSs, which weren't a thing when you were playing, at least back in 2017. And this
Mm,
this team YCS that just happened in Sao Paulo was crazy. I mean, we got I think Hoban versus Urena. We got Pac versus Cotton. Um, we had Dennis versus I think Kamal, I'm not sure, and just the finals in
yeah.
general was stacked. Like seeing all these crazy players play against each other is so fun to watch. Like just seeing how their brain works. And if you watched Jesse Cotton's video, he like did a video analyzing the match of how it was gonna go with Pac, and those that kind of content is really interesting to watch. Like it definitely like makes the game rewarding to play and watch.
Yeah, it was really cool to see. I think that YCS was Pac, Ruben, and Kamal, their team. won it. And that moment, like when they all getting their trophies, that was really cool to
Yo, it
see.
was
Especially
really
like
nice to
Ruben,
see
seeing
Ruben.
him
Yeah,
win.
Ruben. Oh my God, he was
Yeah,
so
yeah,
happy.
yeah,
I literally talked to him like a few weeks before at the regional, and like, I mean, I was really happy to see him. Like, just he was so happy, he was so emotional. It was really awesome to see, to be honest.
yeah. I think it was his first because the Kamal
Yeah,
and
I think
Pac have
he
both
got a
won events
second
before.
place before, I believe, but that was his
Yeah,
first
yeah,
YCS
yeah,
win, and I think he
yeah,
throws up a one, Pac throws up a two, and Kamal throws up a three because that's their
yeah.
respective YCS wins. And nah, it was great to watch. It was an experience, to be honest. I think it was crazy. I like the addition of Team YCSs and things like that. It's definitely something that I like Konami have done, and it makes like the skill ceiling higher because obviously if you're three really good players, the chances of you all getting unlucky during a round is unlikely. So it really
Mm,
does like reward skill over like luck, which don't get me wrong, I don't think luck plays. I do think luck plays a factor in Yu-Gi-Oh obviously, but I don't think it's like as huge as people make it out to see. Because if not, we wouldn't see Cotton at every single YCS top. We wouldn't see like all these players just continuously like there. They're
mm.
always there. So that wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah, Team YCS are awesome. Like I think given that team element to it, because Yu-Gi-Oh is quite like an individual, yeah, individual game. You know, where you just play like one on one, and it's just like you yourself trying to win this tournament. But like adding that team aspect where you actually get to rely on your friends and work together. Because everyone goes to events in a group, and works together on decks and stuff. And the fact that like that your two boys are there with you, you don't have to play against them. Like the worst thing is like getting to like round 10 or 11 or top 32 and having to play against one of your friends you traveled with, like that's like it's always a tough
bro, it
situation,
happened to
like
me. It was five of us from the island at Euros, and round one I
yeah,
played the only guy who helped me build my deck, and I was like, dang it.
yeah, exactly. So the fact that like you know that you don't get to have to play against your boys and you're there working together is really cool. I think it's really nice that he added that. I agree with you definitely.
Yeah. And I think the main last topic that I wanted to cover is like in general. I mean, I know I've seen you talk about it, and I've seen some of your videos. Like I think you interviewed people when Power of the Elements was coming out, and you were talking, asking them what they thought was gonna be the best deck. And so
Mm.
you've kept up enough with the game, I think. Like my main question is how hard do you think it is, especially you as a, because I feel like a lot of people they're like, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh is impossible to get back into once you stop for a year or two, but like a lot of those people are just casual players who were playing before. You had the experience of actually being a competitive player with results, and now you're trying to get back in it. So how hard would you say the difficulty is to get back into the game?
I think it's the thing is a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh is like muscle memory, like once you've played enough, like Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of like the same like as it's always been. Like I mean modern Yu-Gi-Oh. There was a point where it kind of reached a stage that it's at now, and right now it's kind of like the same. Sure, cards are getting more powerful, but Yu-Gi-Oh essentially is the same, right? And it does take a little while to get back into it, but I don't think it's that difficult if you have a good community, if you have good friends who can like help you like get back into it, like give you advice, play with you, teach you the meta and stuff. And right now with YouTube, there's so many like amazing content creators or like amazing players as well making content. Like you said, Jesse makes videos, Joshua Schmidt, Pack, like all these like super high level players with like multiple wins, been to worlds, etc. multiple times, and they're making all these videos, they're streaming all the time, and they're just giving you like all the formula of how to do it. They're not going to give you the secret texts, before they need to use them, but they'll literally give you everything you need to make that top 32 uh, an event, and it's all just there for free. Like, and on top of that, if you're friends with certain good players, you don't have to pay for coaching. They'll just help you for like because you're their friend, or even if you know someone at local who's winning the every local and is up to date with the meta, if you're friends with that person and they can help you, that'll help you easily get back into the game. But it is quite difficult when you're starting. Like right now, it's a bit like, oh, it's a bit overwhelming. There's just so much to learn, but day by day, game by game, like you'll eventually get back into it.
Yeah. Two things in reference to what you just said. So honestly, I am very, very happy about the shift in media coverage that we have now. Like, I don't know if it had already started happening when 2017, where you were like more competitive, or this is something more recent. But like back in the day, I feel like Yugi tubing was mainly like no offense to all these YouTubers that I used to love them growing up. I have a like my mat, I have it signed by all of Team APS. Like I love them and I love the content. That's honestly what got me more into the game. But nowadays we don't see that kind of content where it's like people like being funny or that. I mean, you will see something like shorts and stuff, but it's not the main thing at all. You see like these competitive players actually doing competitive Yu-Gi-Oh streaming, doing like tier list, deck profiles, deck analysis, like how to beat, like all these combo videos, all this like very intense, like very meta game analysis from like people who are credited, like are actually like somebody, not like just a random YouTuber that people like because of his personality. And we've seen, the game translate into the YouTube media now, whereas before it didn't happen as often. I feel like it was more like skits and like other stuff. And I'm really glad to see that shift, to be honest. I think it gives a more rewarding aspect to being good at the game for one. And then I personally, that's the content I enjoy nowadays. Like I honestly just skip through most of like the funny skitty whatever type things, and I just go straight to like what's going to actually help me get better at this game. And I think I really really like that shift in media that has happened over the last few years.
The thing is, yeah, we can't. I love the entertainment. All right, I love all the skits, especially even now. We've got, I think his name is Milano, right? He
Oh,
does
he's
the all
awesome.
the
I took a picture
shorts.
with him.
Yeah, like there's so many. Like I
He's
think the
hilarious.
and like back in the day, I think the issue was the competitive scene wasn't that big. Whereas now, when you go to YCS, go to Euros, go to Nationals, the events are bigger than they've ever been.
Yes, they
And there
are.
was also like Master Duel, which got loads of players back in.
Correct.
And one thing about like all the YouTubers that do like more entertainment focused content, they're the ones that get people in. Like they're the ones that are going to be in someone's like recommended. Oh, yo, like what's this like skit about like what duelists do or whatever, like that kind of thing. And I'll watch it and then I want to get back into the game. And I know when I started out, I loved, even now, I still love watching those kinds of videos. Like I remember that guy. Do you remember your Yu-Gi-Oh channel? Where like he would
No.
go to his locals. Oh, he was an American YouTuber, and it was, if you remember that guy, the duelist, like when he would make the sound effects as he was playing.
I,
Oh no, okay. He would go around to his locals and just have all these characters like at his locals that just are really eccentric people and record them. And yeah, I used to love watching those kind of videos. And yeah, they definitely like inspire me because me personally, like I do like doing competitive content, but I really enjoy trying to find different things to do. Like when I was making those music videos, like and like interviewing people and stuff like that, and trying to do something a little bit different. I do like that as well.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're like they don't need to exist. I think they have a good place in the community, and I agree with
Mm,
that. When I hadn't thought about that, like bringing in older fans or maybe even people who just stumble upon their videos and like getting them entertained enough to bring it in. I agree. I do, however, do really enjoy the fact that like competitive YouTube has like gone up so much because before that didn't exist. Like I couldn't think of a single like competitive player that was like YouTubing like that. Like it was all like just even the people who like cover like new cards and stuff, like they weren't like super accredited. Don't get me wrong, they did great jobs. Like
mm, mm.
Mega Capital G, Asian Eyes, their videos were high quality. They brought you the information you needed. Like they were great. They were great, and I think they were essential to the game being where it is now. But I
Right.
do enjoy the fact that we have so much like new content and media.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And aside from that, there was one other thing I was gonna mention off what you had said, but honestly, I kind of forgot.
Ah, okay, no worries. All good, all good.
But yeah, overall, I mean, I agree with what you said about like getting. Oh, I remember what it was now. So I
Okay.
talked about this a little bit with Lars in my last podcast, if you watched it, which was like the coaching aspect. So I didn't know that you had used to do coaching. So from a like a coach perspective, what do you think is like the value of coaching? I personally am a big like supporter of coaching. I've gotten coaching from Torres once before. I might get coaching from another player before this indie YCS. I'm not sure. I generally think that in order to get better, you need to at very least play against better players. So if your area doesn't have
Mm,
like the best players, seeking out coaching is something that can definitely help. And I definitely think it does produce results. I mean, I watched as like Torres, like not coach, like like you said, he didn't pay for it, but they were friends, so he did it for free and helped them.
mm,
I watched Torres coach Torres coach Lars for like an hour or two, and then he literally went and topped his first Nats last year. And like I definitely think it's worth the value. Of course, some of people might charge more or less. Like for example, I know Hani charges $50 if you book through him, 75 through Metafy, and then Torres charges like unless his prices have changed, which I doubt it, it was like $25 an hour. So there's a big difference in price there, but I think at the very least, like it's something you definitely should consider. And I've seen even cheaper coaches that have like less accreditations but are still pretty good. Like they have a few YCS tops. Like I saw some guys from Texas that had like two YCS tops that were coaching for $15 an hour. Like I really think it's something that's like good to reach out and actually not be ashamed to think that you want that.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. The thing is, with anything, like if you want to get better at something, and there is someone already who's really good at the thing you're trying to get good at, and they're willing to provide a service to help teach you things and help like you to avoid the same mistakes they made or give you shortcuts to get to where they are, then sure, it's definitely worth paying the money for. I think just it's all about one finding someone that you like, that you can mesh with, that can like one give good coaching, because you can be a good player but you might not be able to like teach someone something because it doesn't translate always, right? Um, so yeah, I think coaching is definitely a good way to go. And with the pricing, it's all about finding the best value for money for you, right? Because that's really, you're at the end of the day, you work your job, you earn X amount, so it's about finding what's going to get you the best value for your money. And yeah, I think it just depends. There's loads of different services that people offer. I do like the stuff where, like, let's say like the week before the event, people do like mini boot camps where they can help teach you the meta. Like, okay, this is how you play against these three. Like, these are top three decks, like Kashtira, uh, and I don't know, whatever the other two decks are. Like, we're going to teach you how to counter them. This is where you hand trap. This is how they're going to combo. This is like, if a player does this, they probably have this in their hand or that kind of thing. And just to help teach someone all these things, because a lot of times by yourself it can be quite hard to figure out if you don't have like a testing circle, or if you don't have access to like high level players which can point these things out to you. So yeah, it's definitely worth it, and there's a lot of value in it for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Actually, talking about like those boot camps, there's a European player. I'm a hope I don't mess up his name. It's because there's two people who have similar name. There's Dinka Pui, but it's not Dinka Pui I'm talking about. And then there's Ding Pham.
uh yeah, Din Kang Fam, yeah, yeah,
Ding Ken
yeah,
Pham, who's like a sprite player. He
yeah,
started
yeah,
he started doing these um like boot camp type thing, like you said, for sprite players, like right before each event. And
yeah.
I thought that was like genius marketing. Like it's not one-on-one coaching, but it's still like something that you can get a pretty good value on, and you can like get it from multiple people at once. So honestly, I thought that was innovative and really good. I never took it because I would stop playing sprite at that point, so there was no point in me
Mm,
taking. But I almost took it just for the informational value. But I ended up
mm,
not. But I thought that was a really, really good thing. I thought that was a brilliant
mm.
idea.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, worst case, if you can't afford like to get a coach, I wouldn't be too stressed about it. The fact that there's so much free content out there online. And another thing is just it's about finding your own community as well. Like find people who are like-minded like you and want to get good at the game and want to be competitive, and just like people in your area that you can test with, or even online, make friends on DB, on Discord, like join communities, because there's loads of people which are there helping each other for free and just want to improve with each other. So it's the same thing like with the concept of like going to the gym. You can go to the gym and meet someone there and train with them, and like they can help you, or you can go and pay for a personal trainer. Like both ways are still going to like help you improve in one aspect. The personal trainer is probably going to help you improve quicker than like the casual guy at the gym with you, but both things will result in like a positive outcome.
Definitely. Yeah, that's my opinion. I wish like coaching was seen a little bit more brighter. I feel like I've told people before, oh yeah, I got a coaching from Torres, and they're like, oh, I can't believe you paid for coaching, this, that, whatever. I'm like, I ended up topping my regionals after that, so I'm not mad about it. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's definitely something that's worth it and should be explored. All right, man. Well, we've
Mm.
had a pretty good session. This was really interesting talking to you. I really hope you do well at Dortmund, or if not, with the next YCS you go. And I'm glad to see you back in the game. So yeah, hopefully we can get on another episode soon.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. One last thing, what your friend kind of like, or acquaintance kind of mocked you or looked down on you for getting coaching, you don't need that kind of energy.
Yeah.
Like you did what you wanted to do for yourself, and you've seen the results. You got the value for yourself, and Torres is one of the best players. So
He
why not
is.
pay
Big shout out to him.
$25 for like an hour of his time? So sure. And yeah, like that's how it's always going to be. Don't feel any shame for like pursuing your hobby and doing what you want to do. And yeah, thanks for having me, Gio. It's a pleasure.
Huge agree, man. All right, I'll see you next time.
Cool.